typically they give me what's called keystone pricing, and that is 50% of retail price.
Okay.
Now at $20, if you look at your traditional fees on an average size product, there's still plenty of margin in there if you buy that product at 50% off. So that's why we suggest looking at those products first. Is it's not that you can't make money with cheaper stuff. You definitely can, and we do. It's just, it's harder.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video. I'm here with my good friend, Dan Metters. What's happening, man?
Not much, brother. Happy to be here sharing this stuff with your audience, man.
Yeah, we've recorded a couple videos already, and one of the number one questions that we've been getting in the comments and behind the scenes, Instagram, on email, is, Steve, Dan, could you please share how in the world can I find my first wholesale product? So we're actually going to be sharing with you exactly what Dan is doing. And Dan, you've sold thousands of products on Amazon. You've done over $22 million in sales wholesale. So you're going to share your exact formula, criteria, everything that you look for. So there's going to be no excuse for people to not be able to get started, right?
No, I think this is like, this is the excuse that most people use to never put their hat in the ring, right? Like this is the thing where people feel like they just can't get started. They just don't know what to buy and they're afraid to make that mistake. This is the guide to help you make that decision, help you get started so you can start raking those profits, as they say.
Exactly. So if you guys are excited to rock and roll, do us a big favor and smash that like button, to subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. And don't forget, if you guys have seen our first couple videos, we have 2 free, 100% free, no strings attached guides. The first one is a whole entire guide about Wholesale 101, getting started. It's an instant, it'll just instantly get sent right to you. So be sure to get that. First link down below in the description. And we have a product sourcing checklist.
Yep.
So that's an entire guide that's going to walk you through a lot of these things that we're going to discuss now. But sometimes in videos, like I talk a million miles per hour. We both get passionate. So the guide will really break things down and slow things down a little bit for you. So get that. It's the first link down below. But with that being said, we've got these. I always have my handy dandy little, my notes, like a little broadcaster, but I love it.
It's just the best way to make sure you don't forget something that would actually help your folks out.
And that's the goal of this video. The first thing that Dan does, and we've got this list right here. You mentioned that you do a product search on Amazon. So this is your initial research. You're doing it on Amazon? Is that what you mean by it?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, that was the disconnect for us early, right? That's where we really failed, is when we started trying to do work with distributors, wholesalers. We started going to shows where, we were just buying random stuff from random people, like, and hoping that it was good on Amazon. And, think of it from this perspective, right? Like you go to a show like New York Toy Fair and you see, well, who do you see walking around? You see Walmart reps. You see Target reps. You see Amazon reps. And what they're doing is they're out there looking for products, trying to determine what could be good, right? Guess what? Those people make tons of mistakes. They make tons of mistakes, and it's just so hard to predict what's going to be good. And like these people have been trained for years. So to try to do that yourself, I think is a fool's errand, right? Like, the vast majority of people in your audience, like me, are people who may understand how to buy and sell things, but they're not predicting trends. They're not a marketer or something like that. So for us, that trying to bring a product to Amazon was just so hard. Like it's so hard, trying to find what works. And instead, what we started doing, and this is when we started seeing real success, that reverse sourcing wholesale model, is we find our product first on Amazon. Okay. We contact the company who makes it, the brand themselves, and ask them where we can buy it. And what that does is it just streamlines that process, right? Instead of having to be really inefficient and try to figure out what's good, I'm able to start with something good, get into that mode of buying and selling, and I don't have to pay that markup from your distributor or wholesaler.
Okay, awesome. So you're starting on Amazon. You're doing all your product research for the most part initially on Amazon.com because that's already telling you a story. Yeah,
it's all of the research. Okay. We don't start anywhere else. We really do just start with great products.
Okay. And you had mentioned, and this is tip number 2. So tip number 1, do your research on Amazon. Tip number 2, make sure that Amazon doesn't carry the product. Now, what does that mean exactly?
Right. So, we do not carry products where Amazon themselves are a seller of the product, like where they actively have the buy box and they're selling the product as a retailer. And here's the logic behind that, right? It's like it's Amazon's playground. They don't play by the same rules that we do. They dominate the buy box. They're very aggressive too. Like they'll drop prices and kind of chase you towards the bottom. But more importantly, like those things are annoying. But most importantly, it makes it really hard to make changes to a listing if Amazon carries it. Amazon retail controls that listing. And that's part of the value that I'm trying to offer to these vendors, right? Is like the ability to help them grow their brand, and I just can't fulfill it. So we actively avoid products where Amazon's a seller just because we're not able to fulfill the value that we talk to with brands.
Can I ask you an honest question?
Sure.
This is off the script right now of what we plan, but I'm just curious. Say that I owned a small to a medium-sized company selling a particular battery charger. I'm just looking around the room, right? Would it be more beneficial for me? Would I make more money selling to Amazon versus selling to someone like you? Like, what's the honest truth behind that?
No, absolutely not. Like, that's the thing is Amazon...
Because I feel like they'd be savages.
They are. I mean, they are complete savages. Like, number one, their payment terms are generally tough. Usually they utilize net 60, net 90.
What does that mean?
So that means you send them your product as a manufacturer. Like if I were a brand, I send them my product and I get paid either 60 or 90 days after that. So I have to front load all that cost to Amazon and carry that cost for 60 to 90 days.
Wow.
Additionally, if your return rates are exceptionally high at Amazon, guess what? Guess who eats that? The brand. Like Amazon returns all that product to them. So that's another huge issue is they have to deal with it.
So if there's a return, Amazon sends it back to you. Does that happen with you?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Oh, okay.
But it's, for us, we have systems in place to be able to deal with returns, whereas brands don't necessarily do that.
Oh, okay.
So then you have like another just gigantic problem is like, to do any level of marketing, Amazon charges them, very, very well for that.
Oh, really?
Like if they're going to do any kind of sponsored ads, like Amazon has to, Amazon charges them for that.
So that's an upsell for them.
Yeah, exactly. And as a vendor, they're able to get a lot of those same things that Amazon charges them lots of money for free from us. So like one of the brands that we started working with last year ultimately was working with Amazon.
Okay.
Like they, whenever we first started carrying the product, they had one listing that Amazon had never carried, and that's the one we started with. And then they had 2 or 3 other listings that Amazon carried, right?
Yeah.
And whenever we approached that brand, we talked to them about the that first product that we wanted to carry because we always start that product research on Amazon, and then as we grew with that product and developed better sales and better page, enhanced everything about it, they were like, wow, this you guys are outpacing Amazon. And then eventually we started working directly with them, and they no longer work with Amazon.
So they can drop them off once they have, or does Amazon usually want like a contract?
No, it's fairly easy to drop them off. Amazon continues to request purchases for a while, but it is easy to generally drop them off.
Yeah. I always wondered why so many people work with Amazon, because Amazon, they blow out the price. The terms are horrible, like you said. Why? Is it just because there's not a lot of people like you who understand it, which is a great opportunity?
Right. No, that's effectively it. I feel
that's interesting. I never thought of
that. Amazon doesn't add any extra value. They're just a traditional retailer that just buys and sells product. But brands don't understand. A lot of the brands don't understand that value, right? That what we are capable of doing as sellers. So just being able to communicate that with the brand can show them exactly the difference in experience they're getting with Amazon and the difference in experience they're getting with third-party sellers like us.
So you do your research on Amazon. You're making sure that Amazon doesn't carry the product because of the many reasons that we had mentioned. Thirdly, how many products are carried? Like how many sellers do you want on that listing? Do you want 1, 2, 3, 5, 0?
No, see, counterintuitive. Like most people would believe you want less competition, right? So like one seller, but that's not the case for us. Like realistically, the vast majority of products that are one seller on Amazon are either existing exclusives or they're private label products. And then what that is a private label product is a product that was literally brought to Amazon's market so that seller could be the retailer of the product. So like our interests don't really align there, right? Like I'm not, their goal was to be a retailer, and I'm just not able to help them the same way I'm able to help a traditional brand. So with that, we don't look for products with a single seller. We're looking for products with a minimum of 3 sellers, and that's just to make our targeting better.
Yeah.
And so I don't catch so many private label brands in my net or people that would be unlikely to work with me. So yeah, it's that's a hard, fast rule just to make us more efficient.
Got it. And tip number 4 for the viewers watching how to find your first product and what you should be looking for in terms of criteria is how many times should these products be selling per month?
Right, and this is a huge one that most people don't think about.
And how to find out,
for sure. So for us, like that's probably the driver of our business, right? Is we're very, very cash flow oriented. And it's because when we started our business, we didn't have a ton of capital. Like I didn't have just piles of money sitting in the bank that I could invest in a product, wait on it to start selling, develop an audience for it, etc. Like when I bought a product, I needed to start selling immediately so I could get that cash back and then reinvest, right? So we focus on products that already have built-in liquidity because that allows us to keep flexible cash flow in our business. So yeah, that's it. We look for products that sell at least 40 times per month. And that's just to make sure that we're not putting our money into something that's going to sit there.
Got it.
Like, and if you're looking at a product, let's say I'm looking at a product that sells 40 times a month and I see a lot of opportunities there, bad titles, bad pictures, bad listing in general, right? That means that product may very well sell 100 times a month or more after I start making those improvements. But I need 40 times a month from the start just to make sure that I'm able to get my money in and out effectively. That's for us, like liquidity has just been that part of the business. Like it is the actual driver. I feel like the people who focus on specifically margin first are missing out because they end up with too much product sitting in their account that they're not realizing profits on.
Interesting. And when people are looking at and analyzing these products and trying to find their first wholesale product, tip number 5 is we're going to discuss a little bit about how much the item should be selling for. So what is that for you? Is it a $10 minimum, a $15 minimum, a $50 minimum? Because there's a lot of fees and costs that go into it. So I'm sure you've got some type of minimum.
No, sure, for sure. And now, with something like this, this is more of a guideline, right? Like whenever you're selling a product on Amazon, like Steve mentioned, there's tons of fees involved, right? Now, the more experienced you get, the better you get at learning how to manipulate those fees around, right? Like getting into the small and light program, you can start carrying those cheaper products. But whenever you're first getting started, like we suggest starting with products that cost at least $20 or more. Okay. And that's just a good baseline where the fees at your standard wholesale rates, like they call it keystone pricing, right? Like if I reach out to a vendor and I ask for a price list and they approve me, typically they give me what's called keystone pricing. And that is 50% of retail price. Okay. Now at $20, if you look at your traditional fees on an average size product, there's still plenty of margin in there if you buy that product at 50% off. So that's why we suggest looking at those products first. It's not that you can't make money with cheaper stuff. You definitely can, and we do. It's just it's harder. Like you have to understand more about selling on Amazon, and over time those things come. But start with those $20 up products.
Awesome, got it. Great tips. Tip number 6 is make sure that you're not dealing with like the huge, ginormous companies. Sure. We've talked about this multiple times already. You guys are working with small to mid-sized companies.
No, I mean, for us, like, these last 2 tips, they're going to be value-based. And that's because, whenever we started our business, like I said, we didn't have all that cash in our business. And if you're trying to be a good distributor or work with wholesalers, what do they care about? They don't care about necessarily the individual lines they carry. They care about selling more product. Well, me and Eric got started, we didn't have a giant budget that we could just make massive orders to get our discounts. So I couldn't compete at that level. Yeah. So instead, I had to work with brands directly. And why does working with brands work? And it's because they care about their product more than they care about dollars. Oh. That's their baby. That's their livelihood, and they understand it. So like, if I can talk to them about making improvements, they understand that even if they're willing to give me lesser pricing, give me a better discount so I can do all this stuff, that they make it up on the back end, right? It's not just about selling units. So what we realized early on is, whenever we're doing this, is brands respond to value, but only certain brands. Like initially, we were reaching out to everybody, and I think this is the mistake that most people that come from that thrifting or retail arbitrage background do. Right? Is what was the first products I reached out to? It's products I see every day, like Nike. And whenever I started thinking about it, it's like, why are they not responding, or why am I not getting the discounts that I should? And it's because whenever I'm looking at Nike, say they make I don't know how much their sales are. Let's say it's $250 million a year. I'm sure it's way higher than that. But just as an example, like let's say I'm talking to them about an individual listing on Amazon. And I'm like, if I optimize this, we can make an extra $250,000. Well, what do they care? Yeah. $250,000 on $250 million. Make a huge impact. Million. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, you have to work with people where your interests are aligned and scale matters. So what we found is by targeting these smaller businesses, that where we make that improvement, that it makes them an extra $50,000 or $100,000, in sales in a given year, that matters massively to a small company.
Yeah.
So dialing into somebody that you can actually have impact with is a huge key in wholesale, I feel like.
Wow. Awesome. And the last tip, so hopefully you guys are going through this process, taking notes, taking action. The last tip is make sure, and we've talked about it, make sure that you're looking for listings that need work, that you can add value to, that you can make a difference, that you can add an impact to, because that's really in turn going to help you to build that relationship and secure that deal.
Right. No, I mean, I think a lot of people, particularly early on in the process, they feel like they need every single person that would possibly be willing to do business with it.
Yeah.
And over the course of time, what you really learn is you just need the right partners, right? Like I just need the right people to work with me. And what is that? That's people who actively care about the impact that I'm making, right? And it's, how can I do that? How can I add that value? And I look at their listing and I see that I can immediately help them. I see something that I can tap into. And then at that point, I'm not just reaching out to them in a transactional manner. I'm not just saying, hey, let me buy and sell your product. Instead, I'm saying, hey, I would love to help you here by buying and selling your product. So it gives it that different dynamic, and it helps you start creating relationships that give your business real consistency. And most importantly, predictability. We had talked about that in one of the earlier videos, is being able to predict your income is such a huge thing. And how do you do that? And it's by building great relationships with vendors.
Awesome, man. So the last thing I would like to do in this video is maybe you could give some advice to the people who have watched this video. We've gone through all the 7 tips. Hopefully you guys have downloaded the free Wholesale 101 guide and the product sourcing checklist. First link down below. But what advice would you give to the people, Dan, who are watching and they're like, wow, that's great. He's up to 22 million in sales. I know he comes from the eBay, Amazon world. He understands us, but you don't understand what it's like. I'm working a job. I'm hustling in my eBay business. I'm doing my retail arbitrage, and I'm busy, and it's tough to transition. And it all kind of seems overwhelming. What advice would you give to them right now watching?
No, I mean, I love that. I love that. Your question was so great here, because I think a lot of people suffer from this, right? And it's, the first thing I would say is just slow down. Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time,
baby.
One bite at a time. And that's the thing about wholesale, is everything you do can be done on your own time. Like all my product research is on Amazon. So guess what? I can do that at 3 a.m. I can do it at 6 a.m. when I wake up. I can do it, at 4 in the evening. So like, if you're looking to transition, you don't have to transition all at one time. Like, you can do it step by step, because wholesale is so scalable, right? Like, I can do it with one account making, $10,000 in sales a month, $5,000 in sales a month, and just generating profit there. Like, I don't have to have a business that's generating millions of dollars in sales from the start. Like, those are built, not just, they're grown. So from that perspective, that's what I would say. Is I would say, just get out there, look, with these tips, and start looking at listings on Amazon and looking at specifically, where can I make an impact?
Got it.
When you look at that listing, you see a title and it's short, it doesn't describe the product at all. That's a place where you can make an impact. You see bad pictures or one picture, that's a place you can make an impact. You see bullets that aren't being utilized, that's a place. Like, it's just about recognizing those opportunities. And then once you start seeing them, right, that's when you can start taking advantage of it. So that's the advice I would give, is just start checking listings out and seeing where you could add value specifically.
Hey, Dan, appreciate you being on. If you guys haven't seen any of our previous videos that we've recorded over the last week or so, I'll put links down below for that. The Wholesale 101 guide, the product sourcing checklist, that's free. That's in the description as well. And our next video we're going to be recording is how to make passive income with a wholesale business. So that should be coming up in a couple of days. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Peace. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here with Rake and Profit, and I'm really excited for this video today because I am talking to David and Hillary, who were previously teachers full-time, and their story is really exciting. They actually transitioned from teaching into starting and creating a successful Amazon business with wholesale. So today we're going to talk about their story. We're going to talk about how did that happen? How did they go from teaching to running a wholesale business? Because a lot of people would scratch their head and be like, that doesn't sound like something people would do, but they did it. They are really successful. They've grown a lot. Their business has really evolved over the years. And today we're going to really just talk about their story. We're going to talk about their specific model of how they do wholesale, because it's a bit different than what a lot of people do with reverse source wholesaling, it's called. And we're just going to go through, how much time it takes, how much time they spend, profit margins, and hopefully to inspire you guys watching to look into wholesale. So what's going on, David and Hillary? What's happening?
Hey, what's
Hello.
up? Glad to be
Glad
here.
to be back.
I know. Yeah. I think, what did we talk a year or two ago?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was about a year ago.
We looked it up.
Yeah. Time flies. I was in Miami last time that we talked, and it was really awesome connecting with you. And there was a lot of great comments after that. And I want to bring you back, go through some updates and hear what's going on. But for the people who don't know who you guys are, I told them a little bit about your story. You used to be teachers, but how did you go from teaching to selling wholesale on Amazon and building a successful business? I mean, I would like to personally know how you did it.
Yeah. Over time and a lot of hard work. But no, we got started originally selling on Amazon, like a lot of your audience, right? Just flipping, doing RA. And the reason we even started doing that was just to supplement what we were earning in the classroom, right? Like, we had the summers, we had a little bit more time, so I'd spend a little bit of time there. And I was looking for, I think we told the story last time, but I was looking to buy a new car was my plan. So I was like, apparently there's this thing that you can just buy clearance stuff and sell it online. And I was like, well, maybe I can make enough to, do a car payment and cool little side hustle. It's like a free car, right? So that's where we started. And then it sort of evolved and took off from there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I kind of took off. I took on some RA stuff. I took on the business myself full-time first and left the classroom. And from there, we just kind of took a lot of hard work and dedication and like some skills that we kind of already knew how to do, and we found the Wholesale Formula, and going from there kind of transitioned us into a full-time business for both of us.
Yeah. So we sold RA for about 9 months, 8 months, something like that. And then we discovered the Wholesale Formula, and that was where we sort of made the conscious decision to say, hey, this is we can legitimize, this little side hustle we had going on. And at the time, Hillary was able to kind of start working on the business full time, where I was still in the classroom, and we did that for 2 years, where I was still teaching and just kind of helping out, and Hillary was doing the business full time. But once we discovered reverse wholesale sourcing and that model with TWF, we went cold turkey, got rid of RA, went straight into wholesale, and then just let things expand from there. So now we're now we're doing the thing. We're managing over $2.5 million in sales annually on Amazon. So it's definitely a long way from my car payment of $250 I was getting.
Well, that's really interesting. And a lot of people who are watching David and Hillary are doing retail arbitrage, going to thrift stores, retail stores. A lot of my audience are sourcing online from different retail stores, online sources, and selling on eBay and Amazon. And I'm curious, before we get into exactly what reverse source wholesaling is, we're going to dive deep into it and really share exactly how you guys can do it. But what made you get started with TWF? What made you get started with wholesale in general? Because a lot of people, who watch my channel, they've been thrifting, doing RA for 5, 6, 7 years, and they love it. They don't want to move into anything new. Because it's so much fun treasure hunting, right? So what made you want to transition? Was it the time? Was it the money? Was it was just something special?
Well, it was a little bit of both. There was definitely a lot of time going from store to store and ordering online and trying to find that deal that you could flip. But after that, it was more of, what can I do to really to avoid the IP claims? Once you get that very first IP claim and those kinds of things,
consistency.
It's and then so you also want to know, well, how can I order this direct from the manufacturer? How can I order so much more and sell it on Amazon? Those kinds of things. And then you get into the fact that it is more consistent, and you have a standard income that's coming in every single month. That's, that you just kind of, that's ongoing, as long as you take care of it.
Yeah,
So
that consistency was a big piece because it's coming in. Like we were working to replace obviously her income first and then eventually mine. So it shifted the goal from kind of a side hustle to a legitimized full-time thing, right? So once we started getting into looking through wholesale, once you find a product and find a brand to work with, which we'll get into, that it becomes you can predict, right? You're going to order the same or more next month, right? And let it feed upon itself. So it kind of became the return of the time, the return of your investment. If you can grow and invest almost into a company, into a product, into a brand that you're helping, that the returns just kind of keep coming, as opposed to RA where it's like, well, I got to find the next one, and it puts more of the ownership and the research and the scouting process kind of falls back on you a lot, right?
Yeah, that is one of the toughest parts of reselling in general and buying and selling, is finding that source all the time, going out and always visiting stores and the gas money. And sometimes, we go out and we try to find something at a thrift store and the competition beat us there, or, there's just so many different things that come up, and it's the inconsistency. And that's one of the things that I always look for in a business too, is how can I consistently make the same amount of money or more? And that's what always attracted me to wholesale. So what exactly is your guys' model when it comes to wholesale? We keep mentioning the Wholesale Formula, TWF. That's a program that a lot of people have gone through, who a lot of the people you guys see on YouTube and successful wholesalers that you see, even David and Hillary, they've gone through the program. So I have some free resources I'll put down below, some blog posts. We have a webinar coming up, so you guys can check that out. But what is this reverse source wholesaling that everybody is doing, at least that are in the TWF?
So basically, we go onto Amazon and we search Amazon for products that sell consistently the same almost every month through a period of time. You don't have a lot of ups and downs. You're not seeing huge, you're seeing upward trends and not downward trends. And you're going on and you're looking at the data on Amazon to try to find a product that you think might fit your criteria. And then you're going and you're actually talking to the brand and working with the brand to develop a partnership to be able to purchase from them and sell under your store name.
Yeah. So as opposed to finding a product and saying, can I find and buy this product as cheaply as possible in order to sell it, you're going the other way and saying, well, what's already selling well, right? And then find the source for that, and then take it a step farther, which is what TWF does, right? So it's not working. The product is actually less important. The relationship with the brand is the most important part, but that's it in a nutshell.
So you're not going through a distributor, because when a lot of people think of wholesale, they think I have to contact a distributor. But the issue with the distributors is a lot of times the margins are a lot less, and there could be a million people selling that product. Am I right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes sense, right? So if I were to, sell you something, I've got to make a profit on that. And then you got to take it and resell it. You've got to make a profit on that. So now you've marked it up twice. Whereas in our model, it's to go directly to the brand itself, so that you avoid that middleman markup, and you're able to ideally build a relationship enough to get an even better price. And we have a couple clients that we work with where our price is the same as what they're selling it to the distributor. So we're able to sell it for retail, but we're buying it at
less than what they're selling it to the distributor.
A distributor price or less. And so obviously that profit margin that the distributor would normally make, now we make instead. So, that's essentially the model and how it's supposed to work.
And how much money does it typically take for your average person who wants to start wholesale? I mean, do you have to buy 10,000 products? Does somebody have to have $50,000 bankroll to get started? How many do you kind of go after? How many products, and how does that work?
So you want to answer that?
I was going to say, we normally typically recommend about $2,000 for products, just to kind of get started, just because you want to make sure you have enough in the bank to be able to keep inventory in stock for a month or so. And then we also want to make sure that you also have enough funds to be able, there's ways to do it without, softwares and those kinds of things, but boy, do they make it a lot easier. So you want to make sure you have the funding for that as well.
Yeah, we talk a lot with our beginning students because we do coach with NTWF as well. But we talk a lot with the beginning students about runway and being able to afford, I guess, the softwares you need, the course, obviously, but also just making sure you've also set aside enough for product. Now, the good part about this is that once you have, say, 30 days of product, like, you're going to get that back and recoup it plus profits, and you can roll that in and snowball it forward. So it doesn't take as much. You're not trying to spend $10,000. I think $2,000 to $3,000 is enough to get started, depending on the brand. Now, if you're finding a product that sells, $1,000 a piece and it's wholesaling for $500, like, that's not going to be enough, right? But if you're finding something, we recommend products around $20 or higher. So let's just say $20. So you're probably buying it for somewhere around $10 or less, right? So you can look and say, well, how many times is this selling on Amazon every month? Multiply that by, or every day, multiply that by 30 days. That's how much you need. So, it gives you you can almost figure it out based on the price on Amazon as to, like, how much you need to kind of get started.
Now, I have a lot of friends who do wholesale, and what they do is they find brands, really small brands that nobody's ever heard of. And a lot of people don't realize it, but brands are focused on creating their best product. They're product centric. They're trying to create the product. They're just trying to grow their brand, and they're not necessarily the best retailer. They're not the best at creating listings. They don't understand keywords. They don't understand how to sell on Amazon. Similar to how people who are watching now, you guys are expert eBay sellers and doing all right. The average brand doesn't understand how to do this. So what my friends do is they help improve the photographs, the listings, and they optimize the listing. And what's really cool, and I'm not sure if you guys do this, is there could be a product that's only selling $5,000 a month, but once they optimize the photos and the title and the keywords and they make it look good and they get it ranking, that thing goes from $5,000 a month to $20,000 a month to $30,000 a month. And they work with brands and help build them up. And sometimes they get exclusive rights, or they become one of maybe 3 to 5 sellers on it. And as that brand grows, they make more and more money because they're the only ones allowed to sell that. Do you guys do the same thing?
Yes, absolutely. Like, that, I think, is one of the keys to success, right? Being able to build a relationship. But I'm going to tell you a story real quick. Actually, let's talk a little bit about our first brand. And so let me mention this. Right now, any wholesale client we bring into our business is an exclusive. If they don't offer, like, if they're not willing to do an exclusive with our business, we're at the point where we can say, look, we're not going to work with you until we're there. It's a nice place to be in, right? Like, it's super exclusive now, kind of a club to be in.
And what does that mean for people who don't understand? What does exclusive mean?
Exclusive means that they only sell to us. So as an exclusive wholesaler, what we do is we make an agreement with the company that says we're the only ones allowed to sell on Amazon. And we have some back-end processes to kind of enforce that and whatever. But essentially, you guys who are doing RA, if you've gotten a letter, right, that said, hey, you're not allowed to sell this from a lawyer, like, that's kind of, no one likes those unless you're on the other side, right? If you're on the other side of that letter, kind of a nice place to be. So exclusive means that, we did, and that's where the companies we work with now. Now, that wasn't like that at the beginning. Obviously, like, at the beginning, it was doing what you were talking about, building the relationship to get to the point where it made sense for us to say, hey, here's all this cool stuff we've done to help you. Perhaps we can just be the only ones now that sell the product. But the beginning, talking about building up the value from a small company, our very first wholesale client, was they sold 3 things on Amazon. And we talk to our students about this all the time. Like, it's okay to start small, right? Our first client sold 3 units a month, not even one a week. But we use them as sort of a testing ground for ourselves, where we learn to write listings. We learn to do keyword research. We learn to advertise. And like, the second month after we optimized their listings and helped them out, they sold 6. And great. Like, they're not retiring. But what we did was we took that and said, hey, case study, and we told the next person we talked to, said, hey, the first brand we talked to, we doubled their sales.
I love
So,
it.
and that company's still not huge. We still work with them though, just because it's fun. They're small and they like chatting with us and stuff. But like our kind of where we kind of moved into like, okay, we can do this full time is exactly what you're talking about. We have a couple brands that started with hundreds of dollars in sales on Amazon that are now doing thousands. One we took from I think $700 to $70,000 a month. Like it was, and yeah,
and that's just by improving the listings and keywords and advertising and doing everything that you were just talking about. We did all of that for that brand, and it's turned into an exclusive where we can then explain that even more.
Yeah, and we brought on more of their SKUs and whatever, but like we weren't quitting our jobs over a $700 a month account. But the potential of that account, once we maximized what they were able to do on Amazon, they developed into a national brand. You know what I mean? And since we were working with them and they were small, I mean, it really has a lot more weight, right? So and now, of course, with $70,000 a month, and we're more than happy to do whatever they need. Like it's a much bigger account. It wasn't like that when we started with them. So
yeah. It's exciting. And, our mutual friend, Emmerich, I actually just interviewed him. That interview should be coming on the channel soon. He built a wholesale account. I believe I don't know if it was just one, but I know he was over $1 million in sales, and he actually sold that wholesale account for $406,000. So he sold that business, and now he actually put in the contract. He was telling me that, he was going to be the one to manage the back end of the business, and he makes 60 to 80,000 a year off of that still. And he just has VAs run the whole thing. And I'm just like, that's the coolest thing about this wholesale business. Is it easy? No. Does it take more capital? Yes. Are there more nuances and things? Do you need more business skills versus RA and OA? I would say 100% yes. But that ability to be able to sell your business, that ability to be able to grow with a brand. I mean, that's why I tell everybody, David and Hillary, like if you're doing RA or you're just flipping little items on eBay or selling books and you're making $1,000 a month, you're learning a valuable skill that will allow you to never be broke again. And if you take those skills, you can turn those into stepping stones to private label, to wholesale. And it's really exciting. Now, I'm curious, how much time do you guys spend, or for someone who's brand new and wants to start wholesale, maybe you could take us back to when you were starting and, you started making your first couple thousand a month from wholesale. How much time does it really require?
It requires as much as you are willing to put into it. I mean, and to be truthful, because when we first started, I had the time. So because I had the time, we went straight in cold turkey. We stopped RA and kind of sold out what we had. But I was diving in, 5-6 hours a day. And then he would add a couple more in the evenings. And, but that's because we were trying to grow as quickly as we possibly could. And the faster we were able to, the more time we put into it, the faster that was able to work.
Yeah, it really is about, I mean, it starts with your goals, right? Like, do you want a part-time 4-hour work week kind of Tim Ferriss thing? Great. Then make sure that you're working with a VA who can do all the stuff that needs done, right? Mm-hmm. When you're building and just starting out, for us, I would rather learn how to do it myself first. So that's what we did. So we had a lot of time and a lot more time when we were starting, right? But
we didn't have the capital to go straight in with 1 or 2 VAs.
Yeah, you have 2 things, right? You can either you have capital where you can hire someone to do the stuff for you, or you have time, right? So we had more time than capital, so we spent more time. Now, though, I think once the processes are like, I guess if the goal for us was to build a legit business, right? If your goal is to have a side hustle and make $250 a month for a new car payment, I think it can be done through wholesale. Absolutely. I think it's a different sort of approach. Like you would take an approach of, I want to spend as little time and maximize my return. Whereas we were trying to build a full-time business to replace 2 incomes, right? And so we knew so we knew there's going to be the challenges of the things that you read about, the things that you hear about of entrepreneurs going through the trough of sorrow and spending time and hustling, right? Like I would work full time And I was a band director, by the way. So it was a lot of times were 12-hour days, right? With basketball games, pep band, whatever. So we do that. And then I'd come home and I'd still spend 2 to 3 hours on the business after the kids went to bed. Right. So, I would start at 9 p.m. and go till midnight, just working on processes, scouting, finding brands, whatever. And then the next day she would call. Right. Like that's pretty much how it worked for a while. And we were willing to do that work up front. Where are we now? We have a VA or two that we work with. So it's a lot less time. Right?
Yeah.
Because we outsourced it. And that's so it's a lot less management. So I think it really just kind of depends on your goals. And just the important thing is deciding, like making those decisions. Are you going to be a lifestyle business, or are you trying to do what Emmerich did and build a business you can sell and exit, like scale and exit? To me, those, how you structure yourself, your time, your resources, they're going to be different, right? Based on those goals. So.
Well, thanks for sharing. And one thing I respect about both of you guys is you really have, that burning desire, that passion, and you had that why. You had that compelling reason why you wanted to do this. And I think for everybody listening, regardless of what you decide to do, whether it's wholesale or you're just going to continue to grow your eBay business or whatever you're going to do, but especially with wholesale, you've got to have that why, because you're going to have to blast through those challenges and those obstacles. And this isn't as easy as, just going to a garage sale or a thrift store. There's a lot more things that you need to know, but the cool thing is you can really grow this business. And, just like Hillary and David and Emmerich that I was referencing, and Dan and Dylan of the Wholesale Formula. I mean, these guys have grown massive businesses, but it takes time and there's skills, and you need to know your why. Now, a lot of people are going to want to know, what are the typical profit margins in this business? And just before we get into it, I always tell people it's not about, for me, it's always, I want a healthy profit margin, but I want a healthy return on my time. So, I don't necessarily care if it's a 20% margin versus a 40, but I'm more concerned with like the relationship to time. And is it semi-passive? Am I having to work to earn every dime? So let's touch on that a little bit. What are the typical profit margins in a wholesale business?
Oh yeah, no, ours, they range from as low as 8 to 10% to as high as 30, even up to 60. So it can kind of be all over the board. The average, I think, is around 15%.
15 to 20
is what I would say is average. And if you look at that though, it's like we were talking earlier, it's a consistent 15%, right? Like it's over and over and over again. Where sure you can find an RA product that's like 120. I mean, that's what the board game wants for 3,000% profit. Like yay, but I did it once, right? And with wholesale, it's 15% month over month over month over month,
and week after week. And
that snowball effect really helps.
And you're not driving all over creation to find it. It's a different type of income.
Yeah. And we mentioned before with the optimization, right? Once you started the snowball of sales and you optimize the listing and you working with the brand to really grow, then that in itself takes less and less time of you actually doing it, right? You optimize the listing the first time, and yeah, you're checking and making small adjustments, but you're not recreating A+ content every month, right? Like you do that once and it's pretty good, right? You might revise it once a year or whatever you need to do to kind of keep up with the optimizations, but essentially the framework is done, right? And so that's where the time comes in, right? Just like building out any processes, right? When you're building out SOPs, right? A lot of time, the first time when you're figuring out how to do the thing you want done, and then you write it down, and then you might revise that every so often, but you've already written it down. The process itself doesn't change. So most of the work is done up front. And I think in wholesale, that's what we see, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that you can get rewarded over and over again, and you're able to grow with the brand. And, you might only be making $500 a month, but if you help that brand to optimize its listings, if you help with the marketing, if you help it to grow, all you do is just order more items, and you go from selling 50 items a month to 100 to 200. And you're not really doing anything more other than just utilizing your capital to buy more product, which is exciting. So let me ask you guys, David and Hillary, we probably got a couple more minutes until we're going to end this. Where do you see the future of wholesale on Amazon? Is this a good opportunity to get into in 2022? I mean, the last couple of years has been crazy. There's a lot of distribution issues. The world is obviously changing, and people are they're looking at things and they're saying, is this something that's going to continue trending up? Everything's changing so quickly. Where do you see wholesale going, 2022 over the next 3 to 5 years? Just your guys' prediction based on what you've seen and the current market and whatnot.
I mean, really, the future is within online sales, of course. But I really think that even moving forward within Amazon, it's going to be even more important to have those relationships with the brand owners and for the brand owners to know who their sellers are so that they can really come in and understand what's going on with their Amazon sales, because, Amazon wants the brand owners to be involved in their brand on Amazon, and they're coming in with even more and more things for the brand owners to be able to do that with. So it's super important, I feel, for the sellers to have a relationship with the brand owners so that not only the brand owners know who they're selling to, but also who's going to be able to help them navigate the changes in Amazon and online sales moving forward.
Yeah, there's a lot, right? Like we can predict, knowing everything is shifting online. Like that's what we saw from the pandemic, right? So there's a lot of brands out there that need help in navigating the intricacies of what Amazon presents. We know Amazon is still 58% of sales in the United States, so we know the importance of that. A lot of these guys, like you mentioned earlier, they manufacture products. That's what they're good at. They're not good at marketing. They're not good at fiddling online in a system that they have no idea how it works.
They need an Amazon expert on their side.
Yeah, and even through RA, you can learn those skills, right? And I think that's something that we haven't gotten into, but I do want to mention it's important for your audience to know that whatever skills they bring to the table, whatever jobs they've done, right, they have transferable skills to building an Amazon business, right? They might know, if they don't know marketing, I didn't either. We were school teachers. We didn't know marketing. We learned marketing, but we didn't know when we started. There's every skill you need on Amazon can be learned using resources, like your channel, but also everyone has skills that they can bring to the table that's going to fit into a business, right? Mm-hmm. And it's okay if your business doesn't look like our business, right? Because, maybe someone who knows logistics or, people that are doing the flipping in the RA, like they definitely know inventory management, right? So they definitely know how to read the numbers. They know how to navigate Seller Central. And there are millions of brands, I would say, that don't have those skills that are willing to pay someone to do that for them. So, I only see the opportunity as being enormous, and a part of TWF, and the reason that they even share the strategies and why they're out there is because there's so many brands, there's so many people that just need the skills that you have already, or that someone willing to learn skills that you may not have already and learn them to help them out. Like that opportunity is not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a really insightful response right there. Definitely. So I know that's going to help a lot of people. And I like how you mentioned at the end, there's literally hundreds of thousands of brands. Most people are always worried about getting into a business thinking it's, there's too much competition. It's, there's not going to be money to be made, but there's thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of brands that you've never heard of, that no one that you know of even has ever heard of, that are selling literally 10, 20, 30,000 a month and need your help, or just selling 1,000 that you could transform into a 6-figure business. So as people watch and they say, wow, this sounds awesome, I know a lot of people are going to be like, what's my next step? I know you guys are students of the Wholesale Formula. And for anyone watching right now, I'm going to put some links to some blog posts by the Wholesale Formula. There's a free webinar that's going to be coming up. I'll put all of those links down below so you guys can get some free resources to check it out. But for folks who decide, I want to work with TWF, and they only open up once a year. They're not even open at this moment. But if you guys click those links below, you could learn about it when it does open. What advice would you give to people who are thinking about, working with TWF or mentorship, so on and so forth? Like any advice you'd give them?
be willing to put in the work. I mean, it's not easy, and TWF is not done for you, but we're going to try to teach you the skills and the things that you need to be able to be successful, and you have to then apply them to your business. So no matter what type of business you have, we're going to teach you skills to be able to apply to that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely it's work, right? Starting any business is work. This is just it's a model. I think it's an exciting model, right? There's a lot of potential in the model, and but it's still a business when it comes down to it. And the students that we see that have the most success are willing to invest in themselves and the time they need to do the thing they're trying to do, right?
It's a business journey, and we just got to get you on the business journey. Sorry, children.
Oh, it's okay. I saw the door open. I'm like, oh, we've got a little wholesale guy coming in.
Yeah. Loves a sticker.
That's our prep department.
Is he going to be working in the business eventually? That's the question I have for you.
Oh yeah, they do now.
Absolutely.
I love it. And that's one of the things I love about just thrifting, even eventually wholesale, but any reselling business. I mean, I have a lot of people who follow me. They teach their kids. They're going out to the thrift stores, and it's just exciting. I wish my parents were resellers when I was younger and did wholesale and stuff. But thanks, guys. How can people learn more about you guys? We're talking behind the scenes. I'm like, we got to get you guys some social media. We got to get a YouTube channel going, because last time, man, there were a lot of people that asked questions. Is there any way that people could get in contact if they need any help or assistance, or I know you guys offer different services for Amazon and different things like that.
Yeah. First, if they do decide that the Wholesale Formula is something they want to work at, Hillary runs the coaches. So TWFcoaching.com is an extra service that you can offer through TWF. So if they want help through the course, they'll see us. We're in front of a lot of people and almost every student that comes through.
And as you go through the course, you'll get the opportunity to talk to us and ask us questions.
Yeah, so you can get involved in the community there if they want. And even after doing TWF, if they want additional help, like you can request us as coaches. Totally fine. We do one-to-one coaching. Outside of TWF, we also offer any of the services through our company. So if people are looking for listing building or graphic design or advertising help, and looking for a manager for any of those kind of things, we're happy to reach out. If they own a brand, maybe a private label brand, but they're kind of over the whole concept of trying to figure out PPC, like, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at David A. Call, Kahl, at Gmail is the best way. And then we'll kind of move it to the business side from there. So yeah, don't blow up my inbox though. That's not, we don't want I'm having a chat with anyone that has questions.
3,000 messages later. David and Hillary,
we'll see.
I'll put some links down below, but yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Really inspiring. And, I hope to be able to stay in touch with you guys and see where things go. And, good luck everybody on your journey. If you feel like in your business, maybe people are saying, oh, I can't see a future. Oh, you're just going to sell items on eBay or Amazon and flip stuff from retail stores. There's some big end games to this, whether it's wholesale, private label, starting your own brand management. So hopefully this inspired you guys, gave you some ideas. But with that being said, much love. Appreciate you. And thanks, David and Hillary, for coming on.
Absolutely. Good talking to you today.
Thanks. We'll talk soon, guys. Have a good one. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit, and I'm really excited to introduce you guys to my friend Emmerich, who is a wholesale seller. And the craziest thing is he actually sold his one of his brands, one of his wholesale businesses for $406,000, which is amazing. So I know a lot of people who are watching right now, you're doing retail arbitrage, thrifting, garage sales, auctions, estate sales, and those are all fantastic. But some people want to grow into something that is something that you could sell, something that you can grow to 6-7 figures. And my friend Emmerich here, he has done it. He actually sold his business, like I said, for 6 figures. And the first year he was selling wholesale, he did $700,000 approximately. The second year, it was $750,000. Then he did over 7 figures his third year. and eventually he sold his business. So I just want to welcome Emric to the video. And we're really going to cover how to start a wholesale business, tips to get started, how much it costs, and just kind of go through his story. So Emric, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to be here. How are you?
Doing fantastic, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I know I had you on the channel a couple years ago, and people really, really loved your content. So let's get right into things. Can you share a little bit about your story, how you got started with wholesale? And I know you didn't always start with wholesale. You did a lot of things that I do in my business and a lot of my audience is into right now, like thrifting and stuff.
Right. So I started on Amazon. I discovered that you could sell on Amazon in 2015, right? And I started with poking around YouTube, poking around, Facebook, YouTube, all that, and then trying to discover what that whole thing was. And so I did some retail arbitrage, like very limited retail arbitrage. I went to Target, bought some pens. I think it was pens or whatever, pencils, something like markers, maybe, I don't know, something like that. And that was my first buy. And it's great memory, honestly. But did that, sold them, be like, oh, that's cool. So how can I make something different or better, or like work from home or whatever? And so then I discovered OA, right? And so I'm a geek, and then I love computers and softwares and all this software. And so I was like, oh, I can do this from home. I don't have to like go to the store. And so I did that for a while. It worked really well, made a bunch of cash, paid back credit cards, bills I had, that kind of stuff, like just turn it around financially. But then I was like, okay, I'm always sourcing stuff. I always have to replenish my stuff because it's at some point it's just going, and then you have to find new deals all the time. So it's cool, it's exciting, but at some point I like automation, right? And I was trying to find a way, went to private label a little bit, and then dabbled in it a little bit, and I failed on my first product. Like, it wasn't really working. I didn't lose a bunch of money, just sold everything, but it wasn't really like working. And then I came across a couple guys on YouTube doing wholesale. And I was like, oh, I like that concept. It sounds interesting, sounds cool. It's logical to me, right? And so I dove into it, and turned out it was super interesting, and that's what I did. So I took their course. They have a TWF course, and learned how to do that. Like, I was like, oh, it's super interesting. Like, what is it? How does that work? And then dove into it. 2017, early 2017, right? Did that, and then just did that. That's it. Until April of 2019, where I was able to sell the wholesale contract. And the cool thing about it is that I kept the management of the contract. So I built a team, right? I built like VAs that run the account, and the person who bought it is just an investor, so they don't know anything about Amazon. And so I said, I can manage it for you. And so now I get paid like 60 to 80 grand a year just managing the account.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you sold the contract to this deal, you built the whole thing out and whatnot, and then somebody paid $406,000 for this, and now you're getting 60 to 80K to manage it. And how does the investor do? Are they making decent money off of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting obviously the long-term investment on the property, and then they build multiple properties at the same time, so they can bundle everything, aggregate on their side. And so, for them, it's like just a cash flow play, right? Even if they break even, they make money. They actually make money every month, even though they're paying me. But yeah, like it's cash flow and compounding for them. So it's really win-win on both sides.
Yeah, that's one thing that really attracts me to wholesale is you're literally building a business that you can sell. Whereas, we all love thrifting. We love treasure hunting. I love selling. I buy books and DVDs and board games, and I flip them on Amazon and eBay. And it's fantastic, but you're always chasing that next dollar. And I can't really sell my business because what am I going to do? Am I going to sell my thrifting route? Am I going to sell? I mean, I guess I could sell my list of DVDs that I source off eBay and whatnot to sell at Amazon, but you can't really sell it. So I'm interested in asking you, Emmerich, what exactly is wholesale for the beginners who are watching? And maybe go into depth a little bit about why wholesale is something people should look into and why you did it.
Right. So wholesale is buying, it's B2B, right? So it's buying products from brands, existing brands and manufacturers, and then reselling that as a retailer. So when you do wholesale, you pretty much become a retailer for brands that you have agreements with, right?
And
pretty much what it is. Yeah, buying in bulk.
So instead of you having to go out, like in my example, I have to go out and always find new stuff every single time, you're putting an agreement together. So like a contract in a sense, and you're saying to Jimmy's Hot Dogs, right? Whatever, I'll buy all these items from you at a wholesale price, and I'm going to be the retailer. I'm going to sell it on Amazon because these brands don't know how to sell on Amazon. Is that kind of the gist?
That's correct. I mean, some brands do. Obviously, some brands know how to sell on Amazon, but some brands, like most brands and most manufacturers, don't want to do retail. That's why they have distribution channels and wholesale and all that, right? Because what they want to do is focus on what they do best, which is making their products. They have to invest in machinery. They have to invest in warehouses and employees and labor to make their products. But then they don't really have the know-how of marketing and how to sell to the consumers. And they leave that to us, which are the retailers. And so we're just like a virtual store. Like, instead of, them selling to Target and then their product goes to Target and then Target sells them, they sell it to us and then we sell it on Amazon. So instead of having just a local, local consumers for the Target, right? We can sell nationwide or even worldwide.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine who went through the same program that you went through, TWF, and I'll put some links down below to some free PDFs, some free blog posts. There's a lot of really great articles that they wrote on their website. If you guys want to learn more about it, I'll put some links down below. But I have a friend who went through TWF, and literally, he said to me what he does is he literally just reaches out to brands who are selling on Amazon that have really bad listings. So a lot of brands, they have horrible photography, horrible titles. They're not even ranking for the right keywords. You could type in a specific type of rice that they're selling, right? It doesn't even show up on the first, second, third page. He reaches out, helps them, improves their listings. And literally, like, just by adding that value, you can get sometimes exclusive rights, or you can just have the ability to have that contract. And it sounds so simple.
Yeah, it's not difficult when you understand the concepts, right? So like the brand that I or the contract that I sold, right? It's if you look at it, when I started with them, their total volume on Amazon was about $100,000, $120,000. And it's doing about 1.4 million right now.
Wow.
So, you know what I'm saying? So it's the product's the same, but it's just, it was completely mismanaged. It was just slapped on Amazon and left to die or whatever, and nothing was making it thrive. And so when you put like efforts and you understand what you need to do to make it thrive, then you can 10x it.
Yeah, Amazon is such a crazy little animal. I mean, a lot of us who are watching right now, we don't understand this side of things because we're just buying third-party items and selling it. But when you're actually selling a product on Amazon, the littlest, tiniest tweaks and improvement in photography, improvement in title, improvement in ranking could literally change your sales from doing 10 grand a month to 30 grand a month. It's absolutely unbelievable. So it sounds like you've learned the skills of how to improve the actual selling experience on Amazon, and you work with brands and you build contracts with them. So that's interesting. What advice would you give to somebody who is, an eBay seller, maybe a retail arbitrage thrifter, and they want to learn about how to get started with wholesale, because I love the idea of just putting a contract together and just getting items coming to me. Because, you know, in my business, Emmerich, it's so time consuming to source. I love it. I wouldn't want it any other way, but I wish I had some deals that were just coming to me.
Right. So the thing is, honestly, the sourcing part is kind of the same, right? It's pretty similar. You're still going to source. But the thing is, like with eBay and thrifting, when you source, then it's gone. Like you source once, you sell it, it's gone. With wholesale, you source replenishable items. And so when you source, you get the contract. Now every month you can just rebuy the same thing over and over and over and over, right? Or every week or every 2 months, whatever. I mean, whatever makes sense. And so that's the beauty of it, is like you can continue to do what you do today, but now you're going to build an income that is going to be consistently growing, right? Instead of just, if you stop working thrifting or eBay, your income stops.
Yeah.
Or it's gonna go down. It's gonna go down because you're gonna send stuff, or you're gonna have stuff, and then you stop sourcing. You're gonna empty your inventory, and then it's gonna go away. But with Amazon and wholesale, once you have these contracts, it doesn't take that long to send a PO, like a purchase order, right, to the brand. It takes 10 minutes, right? It's like, okay, how many units do I need? Here, send me that many units. And then you just, either the brand sends it directly to Amazon, or you send it to a prep center, or you send it to your warehouse if you have a warehouse. There's multiple ways logistically to manage this, right? It's whatever you're confident with, and whatever you want your life to be. Really, that's what it is. But that's the beauty of it. It's like once you have that contract, it's there. And so the way I look at it is, how much per month does this contract mean? Like, I'm going to source a product. That product is making me $250 a month. And I'm saying a low number on purpose, because you find one is $250. Now that one is $250. That's it. You're making $250 a month on this one. Instead of, maybe you're going to make $400 thrifting or RA. You're going to make more money on the front end, but then you sell it once and that's it. And so in less than 2 months with wholesale, you're just making more money automatically that you would do with RA, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And that's kind of the part I'm getting to in my business. Like when you're new, and if you guys are watching and you're like, oh, well, I could find plenty of products, you will get to a point where it's going to be hard to, like, I'm trying to get over 20,000 a month right now, Emmerich, in my business. And I'm struggling so hard to get over it, because it's just so hard for me to get those products. Like, based on my business model, I'm doing a lot of cherry picking OA. So, I mean, I would love to have more items coming in. I'm assuming my profit margins are around 40% right now. With wholesale, I would assume it's probably less.
It's half, probably. Yeah.
Okay. So it's around 20%, but you're essentially having your capital work for you.
Yeah. 15 to 20%. I'm happy with wholesale. Yeah. If you go above 20%, I'm really happy. Below 15, I'm like, I don't really like it. But 15 to 20, it's a happy place for wholesale.
And how much money would you say that somebody who wants to start wholesale, how much money do you need to get involved in this business? Because one of the greatest things about what I teach on my channel, a lot of thrifting and garage sales and auctions and pallets, like you could get started for free, a couple $100, sometimes $1,000. With wholesale, I know it definitely costs more money to get involved. Am I right?
It depends. It really depends, because in my experience, I've had manufacturers or brands or smaller brands, right? You call them, it's like, hey, what's your minimum? And they're like, oh, it's $500. Okay. And then other brands you call and it's, what's your minimum? Oh, it's a truckload. Oh, okay. How much is a truckload? Oh, it's 40 grand. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, the disparity is very big. It depends what products you source and what brand you talk to, right? So honestly, the way I went through it, and I think it really helped me, is just send something to Amazon. If you've never done Amazon, I would understand the system first and like just send something and then see stickering going there, the shipment, see how it works, like to list the product, all this stuff. And then educate yourself right? Because now you understand you understand the concepts, and now you're like, okay, how do I go to second gear? And then now it's education. For me, education changed everything. Like I learned from TWF, and it just changed the game for me, because I was like, oh, okay, I understand how to ship stuff to Amazon now, but I was just dabbling in it and nothing was really like getting there. And then now with the concept, he was like, oh shit, now it works. Now I
Right.
understand what I can do to like pay me every month on my effort that I make now, and I don't have to make that effort again next month to get that same amount of money. And now your goal is like, I want to increase my income every month. It doesn't become like, hey, I need to work to make 10 grand. Is like, how do I go to 10 grand automatically every month? Like, how many deals do I need to automatically have that? And then pass it on to your team, like teach your team how to do it. Now you have 10 grand that you don't need to work for, sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
that's cool, man.
And it's totally the way we do it. So for money, again, I mean, I started with like a 0% credit card when I started Amazon, and then just put it on a credit card. Some people are not going to have the same connection with money and risk. So you have to be comfortable with what you're doing. I'm going to say, I mean, 5 grand would be a good start, so that you can have, because not all of them are going to be good. Like some stuff you're going to buy, and then you're learning. So sometimes you're going to make mistakes and things like that. It's okay to make mistakes because you learn. I made a bunch. But like most of the time you're going to break even, right? Like if on mistakes. It's like you buy something, it doesn't work, you break even. Okay, that one doesn't work. Let me just buy something else, right? This one, it was a bust, and it's okay. It's fine.
So Emmerich, when a lot of the people who watch my channel, myself included, when we're buying items, it's popular brands, Sony's and Panasonic's and the Ralph Lauren. We're dealing with all the big brands. Are you dealing with big brands, or are you dealing with a lot of brands that no one's ever heard of before? And explain that.
I've never heard of it. Like most of the time, I don't even know what it is. It's like you come across a product and you're like, what does it do? What is it? What is it for? It's like so obscure thing. And the listing is like completely blank. There is one title, one picture that's blurry. And then you're like, and it's selling like 10 grand a month. And then you're like, okay, what is it? And like you're trying to find who makes it, call them, be like, what is this? What is this? What does that do? How much does it cost? Like it's odd. At some point when you grow, there is stages in this business, right? At some point when you grow, you can you're right, buddy.
I'm good, man.
So at some point you can contact bigger brands, right? Because now you have a bigger know-how. You have things you can send them, right? You can say, hey, here's my track record. Here's what I did for all these brands that are unknown, but I can do this for you too, right? And it's going to be a bigger talk, a bigger sales talk and all this stuff. So it's possible. I would not do it to start with, because the big brands, you're going to have more competition, right? Because the more sales something makes, the more people are going to be attracted to the money, and they're going to want to buy it and sell it. And now you're going to have 50 sellers or 60 or 100 people trying to compete. And what does that do? That drives the price down, and now your margin is squeezed, and you're just miserable, right? Instead of buying the thing that nobody knows, that it's in the back of Amazon over there, and it's just making 5 grand, 10 grand a month, and you just buy that and sell it and make it better. And now you have your, $1,000 a month, like a, 10% margin, right? Or 15, you make 1,500 on 10 grand. And now you're got your 1,500 every month that comes in, that you can use to buy more products and more products and more products. And this is the way that most people that I know did it, is we just rolled it to a critical size, right? And I know people who rolled it to like 10 million a year in sales doing wholesale, because it just rolled everything in, right? So that's something you have to keep in mind too, is like, is like, oh, am I going to be able to quit my job or quit what I'm doing in like 2 months, right? So personally, I think I did it I was doing Amazon already with like OA and stuff, right? So I had some stuff, but I was waiting to get to 50K in sales a month, wholesale, before I decided to quit my job. Sorry. And so that was the thing for me. Could I have grown faster keeping my job for like 3 more months? Maybe. I was just done with it mentally, so I had to leave. I had to like just leave and do me, you know. But yeah, it's really super interesting to see how you can make it. Like, hey, do I want to take money out? How much money do I want to take out? How much money do I want to reinvest to source more products, to increase my top line and increase my bottom line? You know, like, and you just make it the way you want. You build your life with this business model, and it's amazing. You just changed my life completely.
Yeah, man, it's amazing what the guys over at TWF are teaching. And if you guys don't know what TWF is, it's the Wholesale Formula. Really great. I have a lot of my friends, and I've gone through the program. It's a really, really great program. And what they teach is different. A lot of people, what they do is they go through distributors and whatnot. And a lot of times those become really saturated. And from my experience, it's best just to work directly with the brand. And back to what you were talking about before, I thought it was a bunch of baloney when I first heard you guys talking about it 5 years ago. I was like, there's not hundreds and thousands of brands that I've never heard of. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I go to the thrift store every day. I know every single brand. And when I started to research it, I'm not even kidding. And call me out if this is BS. There's like hundreds and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of brands that sell 10 to 30,000 a month that you've never heard of. When I visited Dan's done, I think he's over 30 million now over the last 7 years, maybe even more. I don't even know. Dan and Dylan, who are in the Wholesale Formula, I went and saw their products. It was some of the weirdest, most unique, oddest. I'm like, there's no way that this item's selling 20 grand a month. And
I know. I know,
weird.
dude. It's insane. It's insane.
And
I
I'm
mean,
not
to be transparent, like to be completely transparent and on the, like for your audience, right? And so the contract and the product that I was selling and I sold is rock candy. And so you're like, are you for real selling 1.4 million of rock candy a year? Like, is it for real? And you're like, I'm French, right? So grew up in France. Rock candy is not a thing. I've never heard of it. I didn't even know what it was until I go to the manufacturer. They were in Vegas. I live in Vegas, and they were in Vegas too. So I was like, oh, might as well just take my car and just go in the office, right? And they show me what it is, and I'm like, that's odd. I've never seen something like that. So it's interesting, man. It's like stuff you've never heard of.
Did you get addicted to eating rock candy after you got into the business or no?
I don't eat candy. I don't eat candy.
He just makes money off
I'm
of
selling
it.
candy, but I don't eat any. Yeah.
So to kind of wrap things up, we've gone through a lot of information now, and obviously there's a lot more to know. That's why if you guys want to learn more, check some of the links below. I'm going to put some blog posts. I'm going to put some trainings. I believe the guys over at TWF have a free PDF, a startup guide for wholesale. So that'll be really helpful. I'll link that up down below. But what final advice would you give to people who, again, they're thrifting, they're reselling, maybe they've learned how to sell on Amazon, or maybe they're new, and let's just say they've learned how to send in their first couple shipments. They're doing some OA, but they're really just getting sick of having to constantly source and source. They want those replenishables. They want to know that they can make 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 consistently every month without tons of competition, without prices dropping. And that's one thing I like about wholesale. There's a lot of contracts where you can't change the price. They stay the same. What's that called again? MAP pricing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them to kind of get started? I know it's kind of overwhelming, but I think it's so rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me what really changed the way I do things is learning from people who've been there. And so the Wholesale Formula course really like showed me the outline, because it's cool to understand. Like, I was understanding Amazon and understanding, you know, how to list products and the pricing and all this stuff. It's cool, but if you don't understand the logic behind it, I couldn't do anything. And so after learning that, and then the different methods that they have, then I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I can apply this. And that's really what works for me, is taking something that works and then repeating it. And it works. It just works. Then you just keep at it. Just don't give up. It works.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it's like people always ask me, how do I start a book business? How do I start selling on Amazon? And I'm like, honestly, you can watch free YouTube videos and there's a ton of information out there, but the fastest is to either get a mentor, find someone in your area who's doing wholesale if you can, and try to take them out to lunch and try to build a friendship. Of course, there's programs. If you're looking for one, TWF is great. But again, I'll link up a bunch of free training down below for you guys to learn. And, you know, I'm going to come to you guys with a lot more videos and whatnot. I'm going to be interviewing a lot of people who are doing wholesale, who have gone through TWF, who are getting results. So, Emmerich, thanks for coming on, man. Congratulations for selling your was it your rock candy business you sold for $406,000?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. And I love how you're making money on the back end now. It's such a smart business move, man. But thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your information. If anyone has any questions, drop some comments down below. Again, I'll put some free training down below for you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know and I'll come to you with some answers. But thanks for coming on, Emmerich, and take care over there in Vegas, man.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
All right. I'll talk to you. Thanks for coming on. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake in Profit. I'm really excited to have Ian Bauer on the show today. Ian used to be a chef. He was working at a restaurant for years and years, and he discovered selling on Amazon, and then he discovered wholesale on Amazon. And since then, he's gone full blast into wholesale. One of his best months were $90,000 in a month doing wholesale. And since then, he's really evolved his business. He's grown into different things, and just wanted to have Ian on to talk about his journey of how he went from getting started on Amazon, his journey, his ups and downs, how he finds products, and just really dive a bit more into this business model, because a lot of people who are watching my channel, Ian, they are selling on eBay. You know, I teach a lot of people how to do books, and we love treasure hunting. We love finding items to resell, but there's also a lot of people who want to stop being in the guessing game of like, oh, am I going to find stuff at a thrift store? Am I going to find stuff on a retail site? Am I going to find stuff in the clearance? And they want more of like a business where you're able to have more replenishables, more consistent income. And wholesale is a great option for that. So Ian, I know you've been doing it, man. It's been a while since we talked, but I'm excited to reconnect. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be back.
Yeah, man. It's been probably a couple years since the last time we talked. And you were saying before the show that was about 2 months after you had quit your job, right? As a chef?
Yeah, I was actually executive chef at a university, and I just like hated it. And I was so burnt out, and I had like quit my job. The wholesale business had allowed me to quit my job just a couple months before our last interview. And I remember last time we talked, I told you, I think I said that I was a broken man. There was no way I'd ever go back to working for somebody else. And it's been great. I've had nothing but success since then, and I haven't had to go back. So that's been great. Okay, let's keep that up.
That's the goal. Well, that's really cool, man. I'm curious, did you jump right into, like, when you were a chef and you were obviously full-time in that industry, which, by the way, I used to work pizzeria is the Cracker Barrel, and man, that's a stressful industry. But did you start off by doing like what a lot of people do, like myself, thrifting? You know, I was flipping bicycles, selling books, or did you just jump right into wholesale?
Well, so it's a kind of a dual answer there. I never did like the thrifting thing. And the reason for that is because I really hate shopping. Like, I do not have that treasure hunter instinct. Like, there's no, like, to me, it feels like a chore. I hate it. But the thing was, my wife, she had actually started the Amazon business, and she does have that kind of an instinct. And so she was doing retail arbitrage. So she would be like gone for hours, and she would find all this discount cosmetic stuff, and we'd flip it on Amazon. And my job was really just like the back end, and like I wasn't finding any products. But then like she got bored with it and she lost interest, but I saw the potential. So I started doing like online arbitrage because I was like, maybe that's not so awful. It was still just as awful. And then I got into wholesale. Like I was just looking for a solution where I could be like, I just want to work once and reap the benefits over and over again instead of working every day to reap the benefit over, so that's how I got into wholesale.
So for the folks who are, watching, and, we've been doing a bunch of videos, and for the folks who don't know Ian, I had him on my channel. Like I said, he actually went through the Wholesale Formula program. And, my question is, for a lot of people, they're like, well, what is wholesale? Most people, Ian, when they think of wholesale, they think of, okay, I need to go to like a wholesale website, or I have to build a connection with like a distributor who has connections with all these brands. And then we buy items, wholesale, 60% off or 50% off. What exactly do you do in your wholesale business? Because the way you do it, it's actually called reverse source wholesaling. It's a bit different. I've mentioned it before in previous videos, but do you mind explaining how that works? Because this is a unique way that Ian does it.
Yeah, so let me just start by kind of saying what I was doing before reverse sourcing wholesale, which is because I had made attempts to get into like the wholesale bit before, and it wasn't working. And what I would do is I'd basically be like, I would go find a wholesaler, and then I would get their price list, and then I would start like manually looking up their stuff on Amazon and seeing if it's good. And it was really like finding a needle in a haystack. And so instead of doing that, what reverse sourcing wholesale is you go to Amazon and you find products that are already selling well, and then you go to the we're going to say brand owner, and try and purchase the product direct from them at a discount at wholesale rates. So that's kind of the gist of reverse sourcing wholesale, and that's how we do it. So a lot of my business is built around that process: finding profitable products on Amazon, contacting the brand owner, opening an account, and then building the relationship.
Now, a common question that I always had, and, I've interviewed you before, and I've learned a lot about wholesale since then. And I always wondered this, and people always ask, well, why wouldn't a brand, let's just say a brand sells, I don't know, a specific board game or a toy line, why would they not just, sell the item on Amazon? Because Amazon isn't that complex to the average retail arbitrage person. Because, I come home, open up Inventory Lab or Seller List, I list the items, I sell it. It's really simple. Why is this different? Because there's a big difference between selling as a third party versus having your own brand on Amazon. So why wouldn't they just sell it? Why do they need you as a wholesaler?
Well, there's a number of different reasons, really. Some of the brand owners, they just absolutely do not want to be retailers. They don't like it. They feel very comfortable with $10,000 orders, not $12.99 orders, right? Like they don't want to have to worry about that because it's a different skill set to be a retailer versus being a wholesaler. You have to generate traffic. You have to figure out how to market your business directly to the consumer. It's a whole different ballgame. The other piece of that is they don't know Amazon very well, and they're intimidated by it, and they don't want to deal with it. A lot of them will actually go direct to Amazon and try and sell to Amazon retail, and they think that this is a good thing, and they've really hit the big time, when they're selling direct to Amazon, and they learn really quickly that Amazon retail is a awful partner. Like they have like 90-day terms and that chargebacks. And if your price is lower somewhere else on the internet, they charge that back. And so actually we've had a lot of success working with brand owners that are working with Amazon retail, and they like the idea of Amazon, the biggest marketplace in the world, but they cannot stand working directly with Amazon. And so they're looking for that benefit of Amazon without getting into bed with this monster that is Amazon retail. And so we could basically say, hey, look, you get all those benefits, but you don't have to deal with Amazon. You have to deal with Ian, and I'm here for you. Here's my phone number. Shoot me a text message. Like I'm a real person, and this is going to be really good. So that's what they're looking for.
We're all looking for that replenishable item, that product that we could find over and over again. But myself and a lot of people who follow my channel, Ian, we're having to go to the next thrift store, the next garage sale. We're always having to try to find that next product. And with wholesale, you're essentially building a relationship with a brand, and you're just able to order as many products as you want essentially that are selling. Now, what are the other benefits to wholesale for somebody who, you know, is a thrifter or someone who's doing RA, OA, they want to be able to build their business? Is there more money that you could make? Does it cost less time? Like, what are the benefits, you know, for someone who is, you know, like in my position, I love the treasure hunting. I just love being in the game. Like, why would somebody want to do wholesale versus just going out and having fun and treasure hunting?
Well, so the big benefit here is what I kind of alluded to earlier, which is work once, profit over and over again. And I'll give you an example. The last time we talked, I was working with a company. It was my first ever wholesale account. That was back in 2017. I still have that wholesale account, right? And so, and that wholesale account generates, you know, $5,000 to $7,000 per month in profit.
One account?
Yeah, one account. Yeah. But I had to earn that account one time, right? And I get to reap the benefit of it over and over again. You know, and so that's probably the biggest benefit. And you change your focus of what you're doing every single day instead of going out thrifting and you know, turning over products at yard sales or flea markets or thrift stores and trying to find that gold. The difference is now you're doing it with emails and just sifting through Amazon, and you're trying to find the gold in that way. And then when you find it, it's something that pays off over and over and over again. So that's really kind of, to me, that's the big benefit. It gives you some time back. I don't have to leave the house. I'm in my sweatpants right now. I work in my sweatpants all the time. And so, I mean, you could probably go thrifting in your sweatpants too, to be perfectly honest, but you don't have to leave the house. No shoes required. And so there's some benefits from that perspective as well.
Yeah. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about how to land wholesale accounts and whatnot. And for anyone who is interested in this topic, I'll put some links down below. I'm going to give you guys some links to some blog posts that the Wholesale Formula put out. Also, there's going to be a webinar that's coming out soon that's going to be discussing how to get started with wholesale, how to land wholesale accounts. So definitely check that out down below in the description. But let me ask you, how does somebody go about, if they're brand new, landing an account? Right. You told me that you're making just on one of those accounts, $7,000. Now, of course, I'm not here to say that you're going to go out and find a $7,000 a month wholesale account easily. You know, it takes hard work. It takes relationship building and obviously adding value to the brand, which we'll talk about. But what's the first step that somebody could take who's interested in this? They want those replenishables. They want to have one account and get paid from it over and over again. Right. What advice to get started, you know, landing your first account? Do you make a bunch of phone calls? Is there somewhere you get a list? I mean, where does someone even start?
Yeah. So with reverse sourcing wholesale, the idea is to start on Amazon. And what you want to do is you can actually do this without any tools. Tools definitely make it easier. You know, software makes it easier, but you could get started without it. What I'd recommend is going to Amazon and picking a category, maybe one that you're really familiar with. Start there and start drilling down in the category. There's different category filters. You could filter by price. You could filter by just a bunch of different metrics, right? So you start filtering down and down and down. And then eventually Amazon's going to start serving up more and more niche kind of offerings. And that's really what you want. The riches are in the niches, right? Everybody says that. And so like, just to be perfectly clear, if you go to Amazon and you type dog toys and you pick the first item in slot number 1 on page 1 on Amazon, this is not going to go well for you. But if you do what I just said and really filter and narrow it down, and then I would even say skip to like page 4 or 5, because now you're going to see a list of products that are probably selling, but they're a little bit more obscure and possibly need a little help to sell even more. So so now think about this, how you're going to approach a brand owner. You're going to say, oh, wow, hey, you know, I found this buried on page 5. I think it's a great product, right? So there's something that you could do to meaningfully help them. And then also it's already selling and already profitable. So the risk is gone from your perspective. And so that's when you reach out to the brand owner, and that's when you try and open up a wholesale account. So that's really what you do to get started. That's the essence of reverse sourcing wholesale. Now, there's a bunch of ways to power that up and make it more efficient and make it, you know, do it in mass and all kinds of stuff. But that's if you want to get started today, go do that right now.
Now, does this require a lot of time and a lot of money? What could people expect who are interested in learning more about wholesale, but they don't really know, like, is this going to be 60 hours a week? Do I need $30,000 capital? From the people that you've helped, I know you've helped and coached a lot of people and you've been a great mentor. What do you recommend to someone who is new?
So to set the expectation, you can get started for any amount of time and any amount of money. And I really mean that. Like when I started, to give you an example, I was working 50 or 60 hours a week, not a joke, really was doing that. So I really only had about 5 hours a week to spend on this. And in addition, I was also a chef. So I was poor in time and poor in actual money. So I had like $500. I put like $500 on a credit card, more or less, to get started. I started my business on credit cards. Now, if I had more time and if I had more money, maybe it would have accelerated me a little bit more quickly. I would recommend, like, if you want like a good strong start, you need at least 5 hours a week and probably about $1,000, because wholesalers want you to place minimum orders, and $1,000 will put you in a good ballpark for a lot of their minimum orders. But there are some out there with no minimums or $200 minimums and stuff like that. So I would say that's what you need to get started. And you could do exactly what I did, which was I leveraged into it with the retail arbitrage. Like I was already, I don't know, $1,000 or $2,000 a month in sales on Amazon. It was something piddly. And then I was able to leverage into it. I was bootstrap it and use that money to do the wholesale bit.
Are there certain types of products that you recommend people go after? We had our buddy Emmerich on the channel recently, and Emmerich, I mean, he sold his business for $405,000. He's also another student of the Wholesale Formula. He's a rock star. He was selling, speaking of rocks, rock candy, candy. I mean, are the riches in the weird niches, or are they just in anything? I mean, are there specific types of products that do better than others when it comes to wholesale?
So here's the thing. 100% of the brands that I have worked with successfully and where I make all of my money, you have never heard of. And so, yes, that is the answer. And so, like, if you like, one of the big things that you need to be aware of is if you are going after a household brand, it's not going to work. Smuckers will not answer your emails. Charmin does not care that you want to sell.
What about Sony?
Yeah. Do not talk to them until you're ready to buy tractor trailers full of their products. But there are millions, literally millions of these little cottage brands out there in the world. I work with a brand right now, and all they do is they make soap and lotions and things like that, and they're distributed nationwide. And it's a beautiful cottage little brand, and you could go to health food stores and stuff like that and find them. They've got their toe in Whole Foods, but that came after me. And so you've never heard of them. I guarantee you've never heard of them, but they're doing great on Amazon. We have sales. We're growing the brand. We're adding new products. And so that's what you're looking for, is that, kind of a small to mid-size brand owner.
Do you think that wholesale is too saturated? That's one of the number one things that always holds people back from starting a business is, I don't want to start eBay. I don't want to start wholesale. I don't want to start private label, whatever it is, because there's a viral TikTok video that went out, or they're on YouTube and everyone's going to do it. What would you say to the person who is interested in this because of, I put quotes around it, the semi-passive income of it, right? You put the work once and you make money over and over again. But what advice would you give to someone who's like, there's too many people doing it. These guys are talking about it. It's too saturated. This isn't going to work in the future.
Yeah, I think that's great for me, that kind of mentality, because I'll just go ahead and scoop up those accounts. It's not too saturated, because if you look at, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that Amazon marketplace is actually growing faster than new sellers are joining it. And so it creates this gap where we actually just can't keep up as sellers. And then the other thing too is that Amazon is less and less interested in their retail portion of it. And there's data that shows that something like 60% of all Q4 sales last year were from third-party sellers. And the other super cool thing is that Amazon is really doubling down on brand. Now, I have another business where we do a lot of brand stuff, and I've worked closely. I'm not allowed to say that. I'm a Amazon Ads partner, and Amazon Ads is in charge of their whole branding thing. Okay. And so they are really doubling down on things like all these brand services. And so that's what Amazon wants. They want to work with brands. They want to work with people who are managing brands. They want to work with people who are selling brands, and so, and they want to do less and less as a retailer. So I think that it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity right now. And it has been for a long time, and it changes. Every business changes, and you have to adapt to those changes. But the opportunity is still 100% a great opportunity. Oh, and there's one more thing. There's one more thing that I want to mention, which is that if you're worried about it being saturated, I want you to just write down for yourself what is your life-changing number. Like, what is it? Whether it's replace your income plus, or whatever it is. Let's say it's $6,000 a month in profit. Okay. That would be approximately $60,000 a month in revenue in a wholesale model if you're not doing very well. And so that's 3 accounts. Can you get 3 accounts? It does. You're not trying to be the number one seller on Amazon unless you are. So you have to do so little to change your life for the better. And that's why I think it's kind of a non-starter.
What do you think the biggest mistake is, Ian, that a lot of people make when they get into wholesale? Maybe they go through the Wholesale Formula program. They're working, they're learning, they're educating themselves, but they're just not getting results, or things aren't happening quick enough. As you know, with every business, I mean, you could have a step-by-step, ingredients list, right? As a chef, you could have all the ingredients, but it can come out completely different if you don't put things together in the correct sequence and at the right time. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's a tough one. There's a few kind of big mistakes that I see people make. Probably the biggest one is giving up. And I never really understand it. But here's kind of what I've surmised is people don't like rejection, and reverse sourcing wholesale involves a lot of rejection. You're emailing brands all the time. Hey, I'd like to open up a wholesale account, and they're saying no. And the less you know about how to provide value to that brand owner, the more they're going to say no, right? But there's a number. Think of it like your batting average, right? If you open 1 in 100 accounts, then you need to send 100 emails. But what we see a lot of times is people will send 10 or 15, and they get 10 or 15 rejections. And then they're like, this is too hard. It's oversaturated. Nobody's opening up wholesale accounts. But what you didn't know was that your number was 1 in 100. So if your one is a $2,000 per month profit, would send 100 emails. And so one thing that I would really recommend, I was actually thinking about this the other day, is take it out of your own hands so that you don't get rejected. And I do that by outsourcing it to a virtual assistant. And now my virtual assistant sends the emails. She's getting rejected. She does not care. She absolutely does not care. She's like, I was just told to send these emails. I don't care. And so now it's like this machine that's working in the background, and the emotional burden of getting it rejected is off of your shoulders. And now you're just stepping in for the wins and the successes. And that's probably a big key to my success, was being able to do that.
Yeah, virtual assistants are huge, man, in my business. And I know you've helped a lot of people with virtual assistants as well. So that's cool. Do your virtual assistants make phone calls as well, or are they just sending emails?
No, phone calls is not something I've been able to really get anybody trained up to do. I do the phone calls, and I actually don't do a lot of phone calls. It's just my personality. I don't do a lot of phone calls. If I get on a phone call, it's like a really warm phone call. So it's like a no stress environment. But yeah, I still do those.
Well, that's cool, man. Cause I'm not big into the phone calls either. I like talking to people and whatnot, but I don't like selling. I don't like pitching. I don't like that whole cold environment. So I definitely get what you're saying. So that's a good thing. So I know you went through the Wholesale Formula program. Obviously you got some great results. You've done some coaching over there. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to learn this? They're thinking about, learning from the Wholesale Formula and whatnot. Could you give some of your feedback on, how the program helped you and whatnot back when you started?
Yeah. So the Wholesale Formula really helps you dial in that whole dynamic with the brand owner. What it is it's like a formula, I mean, for finding wholesale accounts and opening up wholesale accounts. And that's really key. So all of the, like, you know, how to open up the account, like what emails to send, you know, how to talk to a brand owner, how to position yourself as valuable, you know, how to sort and filter using powerful tools to really upscale a business. That's really what it is. And so, you know, if you're really ready to kind of like scale us up to a business that can replace your full-time income, you know, then that's what that's there for. And that's what it did for me, is it taught me how to scale up my business so that I could replace my full-time income.
Man, it's been an exciting journey, and really grateful just to be able to watch your growth and everything you've done. And hopefully this video inspired some people to learn about wholesale. Of course, it's not for everybody, but as you could see in this video, there's a lot of pros to wholesale. There's a lot of benefits, and a lot of people don't even know that this exists. A lot of people have no idea. And, you know, even to go a step further, people have no idea that there's hundreds of thousands of brands who need your help. So I've said this before in previous videos, Ian, but for anyone watching, if you're learning to sell on Amazon or eBay or e-commerce in general, you are creating a skill that will allow you to never be broke again. You're creating a skill that is going to trend more and more into the future. And you're creating a skill that could really add a lot of value. What you know how to do selling online, a lot of people have no idea, especially brands. So hopefully this video helped. Ian, thank you so much. Is there any way that people can learn more about you? Do you have any social media, anything going on? Or are you just busy in the trenches selling?
Yeah. So if you want to get in touch with me, I do have a Facebook page. You can reach out to me there. And I have another business, Graphic Rhythm. You could reach out there and chat with me at support@graphicrhythm.com, and I'd be happy to answer questions for you there.
What do you do at Graphic Rhythm? Is it all graphic design for like e-commerce and Amazon sellers and whatnot?
Yeah, so that's exactly what that is. It kind of grew out of my wholesale business. I had a designer in there full time, and we would optimize Amazon listings and all that stuff. And then, you know, basically I had peers in the selling business who were like, hey, that looked pretty cool. Could your designer do that for me? And then that's how Graphic Rhythm kind of grew. But yeah, that's exactly what we do.
Are there people who can start this business and they could work with wholesale brands and say, hey, I'm going to help you do this. And then they reach out to your team and then you guys essentially do it?
Yeah, you can have us fulfill it. That's really one of the neat things is, you could basically write checks and our ass will cash them. So that's a good thing for you to do there.
So instead of FBA, it's FBI, fulfilled by Ian.
Yeah, there you go. Fulfill your promises to brand owners. That's what we do.
Well, thank you so much. I'll drop those links, your Facebook group and your website as well, down in the description. Also, remember, everybody watching, if you want to learn more about this, I'm going to put down below a webinar that's coming up that'll teach you how to get started with wholesale, how to find your first wholesale account, some really good information. So I'll drop that down below and that'll be coming soon. But Ian, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for inspiring everybody. And hopefully you have a great 2022. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right. Bye.